All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course, we will unpause and then repause, as usual. We've got a few news items to talk about today, some of which are more intelligible than others. It is everywhere. Yes, the story of anti-Semitism. The hardened reality is that anti-Semitism is everywhere now, and the obligation falls to us, meaning the country's leading journal of conservative opinion, to confront it. Comes from the National Review, so yeah, it might be a little bit on the biased side. Just saying, maybe. The emerging Democratic consensus for 2026. Curse more, obey less, protect criminals and illegal immigrants at all costs. Yeah, that is what you're seeing. There's actually a picture of Beto O'Rourke at the top of this article, and I found that very, very interesting, by the way, based on his statements from the past. Of course, he's a complete political loser, so talk about that. The latest fleeting TikTok beauty trend, looking tired. If people want to emulate Jenny Ortega or something like that, I personally have no problem with this. There are much less innocuous things going around on the internet, so this is, who gives a shit? A plague mysteriously spread from Europe into Asia 4,000 years ago. We're going to be fact-checking this, by the way. Scientists now think they know how. Actually, it went from Asia to Europe, as all plagues tend to do. By the way, it's always tea time. We be clanking. So, yeah. Texas Dems begin to crack. Confirm return to state after fleeing to obstruct GOP redistricting. Yeah, the Democrats have folded on that particular issue. And then we have the mRNA funding, which RFK Jr. has effectively ended. So for those of you that are particularly interested in a certain disease and the methodology by which the government wrongfully attempted to tackle it, RFK Jr. is delivering for you. Another good hiring by Donald Trump. So we'll be talking about that. Diego Sandoval, fact-checking, not doing research. Oh, I do plenty of research. I have to do this every single day. It becomes daunting at some points. That's why I'm limiting the number of news topics I actually cover in the live streams. I can't fully investigate 17 different, types of story. It's impossible. I'm one person. So, yeah. Steven Nizek, how much would Aaron McGruder need to pay Styx to be the voice actor for Uncle Ruckus? I don't know who Uncle Ruckus actually is. Bobby Bobinson needs an answer to some question. Well, let me see what your question was. Bobby Bobinson, he's been bleeding subs for months, and it's not because he's on time. LMAO. No, it's because of algorithmic demotion. This has happened to a number of other major creators, actually. Specifically those that have political views that are outside of the liberal orthodoxy. It's been happening for quite some time. Oh, Cygnus question. Oh, okay. Do you slather Bovrite on your feet? No. Although I have used other things on my feet. I had this CBD oil over in the Netherlands that was actually really, really great and moisturized massively. Well, Bobby, bro, you don't lose subs because of the algorithm. If nobody knows that I exist unless they've already subscribed, and the people that have subscribed never get notified that I upload, I would have a feeling that that would generally tend to reduce your subscriber total. What do fuck? What do you think about this idea? States base their congressional districts on the name on your birth certificate. This will cause its own problems, but will normalize the extreme BS. Thoughts? I don't know. You mean like making it alphabetical? I'm not exactly sure what you're proposing, so... Yeah. Apocalypse Wow. Gavin Newsom's PR team is trying to turn him into a Trump-style shitposter online. Similar cadence and tone. He'll be the Dem nominee in 2028. He may very well be, and then would subsequently lose, I believe. Taco Woman Sandy Ravage, jail Adam Schiff. Yeah, I would agree with that too. They should put him in behind bars. Bobby. But that doesn't happen to anyone else who talks about edgy stuff on YouTube. Well, just ask any of a number of other creators about their subscriber totals. The fact is that YouTube is actively demoting a number of us. Hundreds of people, in fact. That's because they're moving to a system wherein they're trying to contractually oblige individuals that they astroturf in order to drive them to the top. So if you look up, for instance, any recent news story, it's no longer you see independent content like you did way back in the day. I remember one of my first takeoff videos was actually my Hurricane Irene video. You don't see that anymore. That'll be on like page 13. Nobody sees it. Nobody knows that it exists. Instead, what you see is something from CNN or from somebody who has taken a contract with YouTube. Joe, I like vanilla ice cream with rainbow sprinkles. I always liked chocolate ice cream with rainbow sprinkles back in the day. Jeff Garman, exactly. Sticks, you are fighting the good fight. Just remember that when you're catching flack, it means you're over the target. Keep fighting the good fight. I will. John Hoyle, keep an eye on Governor Mara Healey-Mass. They may push her up for president or vice. Yeah, I have a feeling, this has been my feeling for some time. Since the Democratic Party's roster is so piss poor, I mean, if Gavin Newsom is your front runner, it's pretty piss poor. I have a feeling that they're going to try to astroturf somebody, Obama style. So they'll find somebody who's on the youngish side, charismatic, capable of delivering a speech. They'll give them the keynote address or something like that, and they'll try to pull Obama 2.0. What do fuck? Yes, alphabetic based on your last name on the birth certificate. This keeps people from changing their name to fudge the system. That's an interesting possible solution, actually. Let's get to our sponsors before we get to the news. After all, I am drinking Jam and Beans tea. We have cultivated-mind.com. Well, a couple of them just flew out. Whoops. I didn't close up the baggie. Well, that was a little bit of a derp. You can get mushroom pills from them that help invigorate you when you can successfully close the package. I've got another one somewhere around here. Several of them, actually. Also, doggo snacks, and they are highly in demand. I've not talked to anyone who's bought them that said that their dog didn't like them, so the taste must be there. It's not just the mushroom extracts. We have BiltongUSA.com, the land of Anton's Wagyu, Angus, venison, bison, and every other meat under creation. Kabanasi. Also, anytime we mention Anton's, we have to eat a bit of bovright. Yes, indeed. Too salty, he would say. I personally disagree. Put this in anything. Spread the Vegemite on toast. Delicious. Marmite's pretty good too, although it's not as good as bovright or Vegemite. Just saying. We've got Stick, Sex, and Hammer mugs, tumblers, and shirts available as well. And finally, jamandbean.com. That is JAMNbean.com. The home of Clanker Coffee, as well as various teas. I can't remember the name of that particular tea. It's got tropical fruit flavors, and it's also got coconut in it. And it's really, really good. I still think my favorite is the Yunnan Jig. Thankfully, I've still got several more bags of it, so I know what I'm drinking later. It's basically the black tea that you get at a Chinese restaurant, but it's superior in every way. What the fuck? I just ate some bison biltong, my favorite. Yummy! And I used coupon code STICKS. Yes, use code STICKS, by the way, on all of these sites. The trees are still fucking one another. I don't know when it's gonna end. We're in a heat wave right now as well, so I'm drenched with sweat. I don't know if anyone can tell, but yeah, there's a sheen of sweat on me. I'm gonna take a nice cold shower later. I'm gonna need it. Otherwise, I'm gonna smell like fuck. Lemon curd. With curry powder, best to drop it into olive oil for an hour to bloom the dried spices before cooking. Sigh. Peanut would be good as well. Yeah, you can do all sorts of things within cooking. It's funny because a lot of people, I mean, they stick to like sandwiches and soups and casseroles and stuff like that. I get a little bit more exotic in my cooking. Joe, isn't it weird how the bind admin feels like it was just a dream? Seems like the universe had a pending period and lapsed for a bit. Just me? Actually, yeah, I kind of agree with you on that one. Yeah, it does feel like it was sort of a dream. It's like for 4 years we sort of just lost our mind as a culture, or something like that. The Wanderer. Hail hell, hail sticks. I am here, Tarl. Good to see you, my friend. Let's get to the news. It is everywhere. The hardened reality is that anti-Semitism is everywhere now. The obligation falls to us, meaning the country's leading journal of conservative opinion, to confront it. Jew versus Muslim has become a politicized issue. I would like to tell people, Islamophobia is not a thing. Anti-Semitism is not a thing. There are a small handful of people who genuinely just hate Jews, or they genuinely just hate Muslims. That is not the majority of the population. If anything, it's just the legacy media whipping up the flames of hate in order to make clickbait articles more than anything else. For example, I'll take myself as the anecdote. I do not hate Jews. I do not hate Muslims. I do not care what somebody does in their life. Believe in whatever God you want. I don't give a fuck. When you start lobbing hand grenades at one another, that's a little bit different. But these are state actions. This is not some random Jew hauling off with a machete and slicing up some Muslim. And this is not, at least generally, some random Muslim deciding to throw a Molotov cocktail through a car window. Generally speaking, most of the violence that we see exhibited here is state-run. That's the real problem. It's the nation of Israel and various Islamic states around it that are constantly pounding one another, which is unfortunate, because most of the casualties, they're not even in the military. They didn't sign up to go and shoot people or anything like that. They just happened to get hit by a rocket or something like that. The U.S. should stay out of it. In the United States, we are a cosmopolitan culture, generally speaking. I do not believe in the salad bowl idea. I believe in the melting pot idea, by the way, so everything should become American. There should be no hyphens involved. It takes a little time to assimilate people. But ultimately, this is complete nonsense. And the idea that hating Jews is some sort of major force within U.S. politics is absolutely laughable when, you know, a considerable proportion of our senators happen to be dual citizens. I noticed that there's one nation that they happen to be dual citizens of, generally speaking. Just saying. So this article from the National Review is nothing more than propaganda. And I'm not going to take a side. I'm not going to say, hey, hail Israel, because Jews are disliked by some other group. I'm not going to side with Palestine or with Islam simply because they say we're being repressed by the Jew. I'm not going to side with either of them. I'm going to side with the United States, believe it or not. Yeah, it makes sense to me. Which country do I reside in? Is it A, Israel, B, Palestine, or some other Islamic state, or C, the United States? I reside in the United States, far, far away from the Middle East. I don't give a fuck what the Middle East does. It means absolutely nothing to me. We should be making our own fuel, mining our own minerals, mind our own business, and let them do whatever the hell they want. If you want to get involved diplomatically, that's a good thing, and it's fine. Of course, the United States, as a major country, as a huge economy, can oversee such things. Not in a colonial sense, but simply brokering peace deals and stuff. The hope is that peace breaks out in the Middle East. Now, Bolton will probably die of a heart attack if that happens. Beyond that, I don't think the U.S. should have any further involvement in the Middle East, honestly. And here's the thing. There's a reason why we have such an involvement in the Middle East. After World War II, an autopsy of the war was conducted by various officials within the United States. They determined, and Eisenhower was a general in World War II, became president. Just so happens, coincidentally, to be under him that Iran was overthrown. There's nothing to see here. They did an autopsy. They determined that the reason why the Nazis managed to persist so long, last beacon, by the way, please stop spamming, was because they had so much access to fuel. This is why the North African campaign, by the way, was so important. Therefore, after the war, they decided to overthrow the Iranian government because it could side with the Eastern Hemisphere. And we didn't want that to happen because we needed their fuel. These days, though, we don't need Iranian oil. We don't need Saudi oil. We don't need natural gas from Qatar or Dubai or anything like that. We've got our own fuel supplies. And they're really, really great. We've got highly refined oil that doesn't require a lot of additional refining in order to turn into gasoline and things like that. We're capable of doing it ourselves. We do not need the Middle East. Lemon curd. Tomato paste will do. Yeah. Tree fucking. The emerging Democratic consensus for 2026. Yes, indeed. I love this article. This is from the Washington Free Beacon, so it's not exactly unbiased. They tend to be a fairly right-leaning publication. But I like how they have a picture of Beto O'Rourke next to Mamdani. Here's why. Mamdani is a nutjob and will probably win and embarrass himself. He'll be a one-termer probably. He might even turn New York red. Beto O'Rourke did the same thing in Texas when he got up in front of the public and gyrated around like a goddamn evangelical, like a fucking speaking in tongues and shit like that, which was like, what the hell are you even doing, dude? Clearly, you're not going to be a big contender for the presidency or the Senate. You got the shit beaten out of you by Ted Cruz for a reason, and he's not exactly the most likable or charismatic of individuals. When he did that and started rambling about taking down the border wall and saying, we shouldn't be building a border wall, we should be taking it back down, and he had that competing rally while Donald Trump was holding a rally at the same time, oh, the liberal cringe was absolutely severe. Most of you probably don't even remember it. Beto humiliates himself. He even gets panned by some elements of the liberal media because they're like, you're not supposed to say that part out loud. You're supposed to hold that in your pocket, get elected, and then try to take the wall down. A little bit of politics. Okay, last speaking. You're getting muted for a little while. All right. You're getting muted for 5 minutes, last speaking. I can't deal with that. It's distracting. But Beto O'Rourke then hauled off about the border wall and screwed his own campaign in the process, got humiliated. Then there was the whole skateboarding incident that was separate, but it was still hysterical. I see a little bit of Beto O'Rourke and Mamdani. I think that he gets elected, and then he proceeds to really, really fuck the Democratic Party. It's going to be a little bit like AOC and some of these others. AOC, what does she do for a living? She makes live streams where she mixes drinks, pretending to still be a bartender, drinks, and then rambles about politics. Mamdani, I think, will do the same thing. Beto O'Rourke still does the same thing. All of these people are goddamn losers. They don't understand campaigning. Yay, you want a local race. Does this extrapolate to a federal platform? The answer in most cases is no. It does not extrapolate to a federal platform. Let's say that you're some extreme far-righter. Let's say that you're evangelical, you don't believe in abortion and gay marriage and stuff like that. You're moralistic. This platform may work in your rural district in Wyoming or something like that. It may work in Farmville, Texas. Does this extrapolate to a national platform in which mainly you're competing for swing states, which are about 50-50 or, close to it? No, it doesn't. The same is true of people on the left. When Beto O'Rourke came out and said, "Woo, we should destroy the border wall," and gyrates, also cringe, so that didn't help either. It didn't work on a national level. It didn't work on a Texas level. Mamdani is perfectly capable of being elected in New York City, unfortunately. Can he ever proceed beyond that? No. Will he hamper the Democrats by simply existing and saying stupid shit? And saying, yeah, we need government-run grocery stores. Yeah, he's going to become a real thorn in their side. If I were leading the DNC at the moment, I would be doing everything that I can to defeat him. I would be withdrawing any form of funding. I would be putting out ads against him and saying, look, this is not the face of the party that we wish to portray. This is not the Democratic Party. But they're not doing that. They've got no balls, so they're not pushing back against him in any meaningful way, which is going to be really, really sad for them come midterm elections, I think. The GOP is trying to fuck itself in the ass for the midterms as well. But it looks like the Democrats may outflank them with Mamdani and certain other people like that. I noticed that Elizabeth Warren has endorsed him, by the way. But that doesn't surprise me in the least. Elizabeth Warren is a socialist, so yeah, she'd be a little bit closer to Mamdani than the normal person. But that's what the Democrats don't understand. The normal person is going to reject this shit. And some V8. Yeah. It's a hot day. I'm losing fluid at an accelerated rate. Therefore, I must drink more fluids. Water, tea, and V8. Oh. Lemon curd. Whatever happened to V1 through 7? It's called V8 because it's got 8 different types of vegetables. Yeah, there's a whole serving of your daily vegetables in one of these cans. Also, it's fun to throw them across the room and pretend that they're hand grenades. Used to, with one of my exes, used to help care for her kids, and I would dress as a pirate the whole time. But sometimes I would put on the military helmet and toss these across the room and pretend they were hand grenades. It was quite fun. Grenade! I won't toss it across the room at the moment. Sigil Stone. Mamdani is what happens when you file to import an H-1B for a candidate. Naturally, after this, he'll be joining Musk's America Party. And you missed a rant. Oh, shit, I did? My apologies. We were being spammed. Sigil, Jews have had 109 chances to fix anti-Semitism. I'm not allowed to read that out on a stream that's also on YouTube, I believe. Just a sec. Yeah, but it's really, really fun to toss the little V8 cans across the room and yell grenade. Scambaiter X. Taro, what would it take for you to ditch the occult stuff and become Christian? Serious question. It's impossible. Once you've seen the truth, you cannot be converted. The latest fleeting TikTok beauty trend? Looking tired. Apparently this is inspired in part by Jenny Ortega. You'll know her as, of course, Wednesday Addams. By the way, surprisingly very, very good series. I've actually spoken with somebody who has worked with Jenny Ortega. By all accounts, she is very difficult to work with. Ergo, she's the perfect Wednesday Addams, because she has the bitch face and so forth. And, I mean, she cute, I suppose. Apparently, this has started a trend. Jenna Ortega's eyes are lightly smudged, framed by dark shadows. Her face is pale, and her cheekbones accentuated by a dash of gray. Her lips are tinged purple. She looks exhausted, but that's the point. The latest Gen Z makeup thread, Tired Girl, celebrates the look of not having been to bed. Honestly, I have no problem with this. Looks a little bit, it looks vaguely like emo makeup from maybe the 2000s or some of the gothy trends of the 1980s. This seems to be a recurrent theme. Every 20 years or so, you get a brief flash up of this kind of style. I have absolutely no problem with this. And, link in the description. Not actually, there is no link in the description because I don't dock it anymore. YouTube punishes you for doing that these days. But you can look it up for yourself. It's by Ella Alexander, the latest fleeting TikTok beauty trend. I kind of like the style, honestly. I also like the show. Yeah, Wednesday is pretty good. They've managed to recreate the Addams Family atmosphere properly. I was afraid when they were doing this. Shit. It's gonna be woke. Shit. It's gonna be talentless and boring. No, it's actually pretty good, honestly. I like the dude that they cast for Uncle Fester. He's done a really, really good job, by the way. And you've got Thing and all of the others. The only problem, and I've had several people mention it to me that have seen the show, Gomez Addams. I do not like the idea of having a short, stubby, unattractive Gomez Addams. Because the whole character profile originally was that he was like a tall, kinda sorta Hispanic dude who was, ravishingly, romantic all of the time. So, other than that, though, I would say I'd give the series an 8 out of 10 so far. Acting's good. It's fun. It can appeal to both children and adults. They've pretty much knocked it out of the park, actually. So, Wednesday gets the Clanker pass, in my opinion. Sigil Stone. Christina Ricky is Wednesday Addams. Not this trollop. What are you talking about? No, Jenny Ortega is currently playing Wednesday Addams. Unless I've been hallucinating this whole time. Yeah, it's Jenny Ortega that's currently playing Wednesday. There have been several Wednesday Addams. I liked the original Addams Family, the black and white one that used to run on TV Land. That was fun. And the 90s reboot was also really good. I liked that as a kid as well. I remember when those were on TV. Liked it a lot. I loved the movie. I loved that one scene where Wednesday goes crazy, basically, during that play. They're like at a summer camp or some shit, and she's dressed as an Indian princess, and then she commands her forces to slaughter everyone, and things are burning and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty funny. That was funny back in the 90s as a kid. Aquafan, did you miss my earlier Rumble rant, or did I miss you read it when I was eating? I may have missed the rant. I'll check for it. Fuck. Oh yeah, marriage is a religious structure, a covenant between one man, one woman, and God. Therefore, government has no place in recognizing any marriage. They should recognize legal civil unions between any two adults. I disagree. Insofar as you're going to have proprietarian contracts, which is what a civic marriage is, you can simply call it a marriage. You know, you don't have to recognize it in the religious sense if you don't want to. Helios Ending. Sticks, have you seen Orgasmo by Stone and Parker? No, I wouldn't. I haven't seen it. Bobby Bobinson. Sticks, would you pork Wednesday Adams if you met her at a gas station in NOLA? Would I fuck Jenny Ortega? Yeah. The Wanderer. Reminder to all clankers. Tomorrow, Thursday, August 14th, Styx Hexenhammer will host a one-of-a-kind special Demonology in Hell stream. Hail to Clankdom. Hail hell. Oh yeah, that's right. I do have to do that. It'd be fun. A plague mysteriously spread from Europe into Asia 4,000 years ago. Scientists now think they may know how. Specifically because of sheep and other livestock. Yes, as a transmission vehicle between people, animals probably, colluded with regards to the spread of that particular disease. However, I would like to opine something. The idea that plague spread from Europe into Asia is presumptively wrong. Every time that a major epidemic occurs, it comes from the area that is generally encompassed now by China. This has happened over and over. The so-called Spanish flu, which was really carried by Chinese immigrants. Yersinia pestis in the Middle Ages. Probably the disease outbreak that wiped out half of ancient Greece. Presumptively, the plague of Justinian. This is just theoretical. Over and over, these diseases emerge from one of two places in the world, either Eastern Asia or Central Africa. For instance, Ebola and some things like that. It seems that these two places in the world probably should not be inhabited at all because they are disease reservoirs of significance. It did not go from Europe to Asia. No, Yersinia pestis came from Asia into Europe. What they're trying to insinuate here is fundamentally wrong. What actually happened is that due to Asian trade in that time period, animals got infected and then humans got infected. That's what happened with the Black Plague thousands of years ago. It also happened with multiple other plagues. It happens over and over again. It's almost like transcontinental trade is not necessarily a good idea in all ways without significant safeguards in place. Spacco, ironically, Gomez is the one role I think Pedro Pascal would be good at. Huh. What do fuck? As a child of the 60s, I never cared for the goth chicks. I do. Morticia Adams or Lily Munster, although pretty, never gave me a Woody. Catwoman, however, meow. Lol. Well, that's kinda gothy when you think about it. Catsuit. Look up Magic Carry On by Rose, actually. Really, really great Italo disco chick from the 80s. And in that video, she wears a catsuit. She kind of looks like Catwoman, actually. Only with an Italian accent. Justinian plague was most likely just a smallpox variant. Bad, but once it sweeps a nation, immunity is present. It's possible. They've got multiple explanations for it. Apparently, Justinian at first was relatively popular. But after his wife died, and he got sick from the plague of Justinian, and got all fucked up, he became reclusive and suffered insomnia and became increasingly tyrannical, actually. By the way, his wife saved his ass. She was a stripper beforehand, by the way. It's a fascinating history if you look at Rome. You know, you look at Mr. Maximus, you know, the dude with gigantism. Justinian definitely would fit at this mold as well. Justinian, once, there were people calling to kill him. Tens of thousands of protesters were in the streets. And he feared getting killed, actually, because of, I believe, tax increases. They started rioting. And he was about to flee. He had his trireme actually at the dock and was going to it. And his wife said, well, I'm not leaving. Fuck you. And he said, well, shit. But then he dreamed up a plan. And the plan was that he would tell the peasants, you know, that were revolting, basically, hey, I'll meet you at the Colosseum, or was it the stadium? I can't remember which one it was. Then, when they came in, they got bolted inside so that they couldn't escape, and hundreds of archers came out and shot every single one of them. It was a shrewd move. Yeah, you put down that rebellion real easy. The Wanderer, Styx, give us a time for the stream tomorrow. That way more clankers know when to show up and discuss the occult. I can also help you advertise too, you know. Well, I would say probably about the same time, so between 11 and noon, thereabouts. It sort of depends. If I wake up early, I can do the stream at 11. If I wake up a little bit later, then I do the stream at like 11:30 or thereabouts usually. Sam W. Estonian theater company puts on production of Romeo and Juliet using, what? Heavy construction machinery in quarry. I don't know if that's a joke or a real thing. If it's real, I definitely need to see that shit. What do fuck? We always hear of Europeans killing American Indians with various plagues, but you never hear about syphilis coming back with Columbus and infecting the world. Yep. Also, tuberculosis and the resulting epidemic came from seals, not from human beings. The colonials did not deliberately give people pox blankets, by the way. They didn't even understand contagion at the time. So they couldn't have. Biological warfare is impossible if you don't understand biology. This is a part of history. Oh god, I could rant about this for the rest of the goddamn live stream. I have edited works from that period of time, and I've read plenty of them. Since you do not understand the existence of things like germs, bacteria, viruses, parasites, and so forth, beyond the most topical, how can you conduct biowarfare? It is not physically possible. They didn't understand that the blankets that they were giving to the so-called Native Americans were infected with anything because they didn't understand the concept of contagion. They were still using miasmatic theory. So foul air. The swamp caused your sickness. The fact that a pile of human excrement crawling with rats caused your sickness. They were kind of right about that. They didn't realize that the blankets that they were trading off to the Native Americans could cause sickness, because they physically couldn't have. I love it when people don't understand anything about medical history. They'll rattle this off. Oh, the colonists gave blankets purposely to the Native Americans to get them sick. Impossible. Physically impossible for them to have done so. I find this a fascinating aspect of history. By the way, when you encounter a leftoid that uses that argument, that's what you should tell them. When did germ theory become widely accepted? Was it A, the 1500s, or B, not until the latter part of the 19th century? When did they give the blankets to the natives? Was it A, the 1500s, or B, in the late 19th century? Once you answer that question, you'll understand exactly how absurd the argument actually is. They didn't realize that you could get sick from a blanket. They were reusing the same blankets oftentimes without laundering them. Nuclear one. They used to catapult diseased bodies over walls. They understood. That's a story about the spread of the plague into Europe as a result of a siege in Eastern Europe, actually. But it does not appear that they deliberately put the bodies in there to cause plague. It appears more that they were getting rid of their sick and dead to try to, harass the enemy. They were simply catapulting the dead bodies over because they didn't want to have to bury them. It is not entirely clear that they knew that sickness was spread in that manner. They knew that it could spread, but they didn't have any concept of germ theory. Groskrin. Sticks, can I have a shout out to my Scottish Dark Fantasy audio drama channel? www.youtube.com/@BROSKRYNN. Yes, you can have a shout out. In fact, ta-da! Yay, quitting. All sickness was pretty much considered demons at that point. Yeah, they thought there were two basic causes of disease, and it's clear in the literature for several centuries thereafter. It was either caused by the devil, or one of his minions, or it was caused by what they called the miasmic. Miasmatic theory is the concept that foul air rolling down into your town could cause sickness. They had various methods to defeat this, by the way. One of them, and it's quite interesting, I believe it was the Petit Albert in which this is elucidated, was to take the skull of a wolf and put it at the opening of your town. By the way, this is treated on in the early 90s Dracula movie. This is actually fascinating. I'll discuss that in a minute. And you would take herbs, stuff its mouth with them, and then you would light the herbs, sort of like an incense. And the thought was that it would drive away evil spirits, it would drive away the miasmas and stuff like that. Early 90s Dracula, there is a scene in which a wolf is stretched over basically a placard or something like that at the edge of Dracula's castle, and it appears to have been lit up in the same fashion. In fact, I'm wondering if the people who made the movie weren't aware of the Petit Albert. And this was a common practice. There was another practice where if you wanted to ward off the miasmas, you would mount the skull of a dog, like on your barn or something like that. This was treated on separately. I think that was the Grimorium Verum, but I can't remember which exact grimoire it was. Fascinating topic when you think about it. Human superstition is fascinating to me. Just tell us. We love the Hexenhammers in Lincolnton, North Carolina. The Gunslinger. Sticks, can I get a shout out for my channel? Of course you can. No particular reason. I just upload low effort stuff and whatever I find. Well, you've got a shout out anyway. Ramon C. GTC. Why in Asia all demons surf miasma? They look cool. The funniest demon in any Asian culture is the Aswang, actually, in, I believe it's the Philippines. The Aswang is a shapeshifter and sometimes resembles a reaver. That is a person without legs, with their, entrails hanging out and stuff. You can, take them on in Hexen, great video game, by the way. And that's sort of what the Aswang is like. I actually made a song dedicated to the Aswang. You can look it up on my channel. It's under my Hexenhammer playlist. I've got some music there, actually. And it's an experimental track more than anything else. Texas Dems begin to crack. Confirm return to state after fleeing to obstruct GOP redistricting, according to a report. So the Democrats they've realized that they're not capable of stopping this from happening. The redistricting of Texas will happen. I would note the irony and hypocrisy in that you're attempting to redistrict far blue California to eliminate GOP legislatures, but in Texas it's a terrible, terrible crime. It's a whole sin. This has happened before. I hate hypocrisy more than anything else in this world, I think. If you're going to abide by a rule, then you can expect others to abide by it. And if they don't abide by it, you have a right to complain. But if you're not abiding by that rule, the hell do you have the right to complain about them? And politicians are the biggest fucking hypocrites. Politicians and judges. Half of the judges in the land are snorting coke right now or something like that. Getting wasted and driving. It happens all of the time. Tarred and Feathered, GOG just released a remake of Hexen. Huh. That sounds fun. I think that somebody mentioned the Hexen remaster the other day during the live stream. Can't recall. I'm not sure if I would like a remaster, though. I think I would just like to play the original game because it was so fucking fun. Best thing to do as a cleric, you drop one of the green flechettes and then you use one of your amulets of repulsion on it, and you can fire that cloud off like a rocket towards enemies. Just burns them apart, basically. Your twin Razor Fist was live streaming them yesterday. I'll have to fucking see that. That's what I'm talking about, my dude. Yeah, Hexen was a great goddamn game. The Vigilant Fox. Listen closely. Don't let this story get buried. HHS advisor Dr. Stephen Hatfield just revealed that RFK Jr. pulled mRNA funding after the data showed getting coofed was more dangerous than getting the coof. We have to mince words. This is also a YouTube broadcast. The cure was worse than the disease. Dr. Hatfield said it was more dangerous to take a needle than it was to contract a certain disease. I hate having to do this, by the way. I had to take a bunch of videos down, and fucking I'd be over 500 million views on YouTube alone if it weren't for me having to do that, several years ago. Yeah. So it turns out we've got medical officials working for the U.S. government, fully accredited physicians. If they're on the plane and you suffer a heart attack, they're going to administer first aid and so forth. People who know what they're talking about. Suddenly, all of a sudden, they come out and say, oh, that thing that we offered to the public and, in fact, made mandatory for certain government workers for a number of years and tried to make mandatory for everyone else. Yeah, not only did it not work, it was actually, so unproductive that it was killing more people than it was saving. No shit, Sherlock. Those of us who said it at the time, under the Biden administration generally, were called conspiracy theorists. I've been right every step of the way with regards to the coup. With regards to the fact that it was going to become a major pandemic, I was correct. To the fact that people needed to stock up because there would be store runs, I was correct. To the fact that people would panic and they would start acting fucking crazy, that it would have political impacts, and then eventually people would realize, shit, we just went insane as a society for half a decade. Well, here's the real truth. The real truth is that the things that were developed at the time were either ineffective or unhelpful, or they were actually, in some cases, lethal. Well, imagine that. The very small number of us who warned about these things were correct the entire time. Uh, with the economic damage, and by the way, and this is not something that I want to have to take credit for. This prediction will come true, and it's actually very sad that it's going to come true. The youngest generation that was deprived of social interaction for several years, generally speaking, is going to have a massively increased suicide rate, is going to have a massively increased mental illness rate, is going to have a considerably increased rate of homicide and violent crime. When this happens, they will blame it on something else. They won't blame it on mentally stunting people by keeping them home and not allowing them to, go with their friends. You remember when, like in LA, when they were covering up the skateboarding parks with sand and shit like that for absolutely no reason. This is going to lead to a mental health crisis, the likes of which this country has never seen. It will peak around the time that the people which were reasonably young, 7 through 11 years old, somewhere around there, it will peak when they're in middle school, which is only a few years from now. When that happens, when they're all going through puberty, when they're going through their changes, and social interactions get awkward at that age anyway, they're going to start killing themselves. They're going to start shooting up schools. They're going to start doing drugs and shit like that. It's going to be a crisis like we've never seen before, at least in the mental health sense. I guarantee there is a 100% chance that this happens. BW, is this all part of the plan to finish off the West sticks, the vax, the social isolation, the lowered birth rates? Yeah, I think that people like Bill Gates are mentally abusive and should probably be sent to Madagascar or something. Gunslinger, you know what? I changed my mind. I'll just upload an action figure review. Who wants to watch me talk about a couple of Clone Troopers figures? Lol. Hey, I'll watch it. Skippy, so all of society will act black? No, it's more like there will be a measurable double-digit increase in violent crime, suicide, addiction, things like that. And they're going to blame everything except for their own actions for this. This is a guarantee. This isn't even a prediction. This is just, it's self-evident what's going to fucking happen. Because they deprived an entire generation of people of a significant amount of social contact, which they could have been having. They weren't allowed to talk to their friends, except on Zoom calls and shit like that. They'll also get them more addicted to electronics, so you can look for another rise in obesity, I suppose. It's possible to remedy the situation. It would require a concerted effort by various communities to try to get kids socializing with one another, getting more exercise, and so forth, more family involvement. But we've seen a steady sloughing off of that over the last few decades, so that's probably not going to happen. That's the only thing that can remedy the situation. The government certainly is not capable of doing so, in fact, caused the situation in the first place. Inland Surfer. I believe the tainted blood supply of this and those donors is an egregious vector, pure-blooded here, and I want to keep that way. Yeah, I wouldn't want a blood transfusion. I don't want none of them spike proteins. Call me a conspiracy theorist. Call me anti-science, despite the fact that I went to college studying biology. BW seems like a planned op to delete people of European descent. Oh no, it has nothing to do with race. They were lying to everyone. It doesn't matter what color their skin was. The Wanderer. Sticks, how much do you make on a stream on average? It really, really depends. It depends on when I go live and what day of the week it is. So it can be, 80 bucks or it can be 500 bucks. So, yeah. Jessica Isaac, are you a right or left wing of Satan? Neither, actually. Satan does not exist. I am part and parcel of Lucifer, but I have nothing to do with this fictional character from Judeo-Christianity. Yep, Satan doesn't exist. There's no such thing as the devil. It's just a symbol of evil in the general, expanded sense. Tim Box, say, I like this. Satan does not exist. Tell my ex-wife. Harrison Bergeron, chaotic neutral is the best. I agree with you 100%, my brother. At this point, I'm past the news. Now it's just a Bant stream. Wait, my glasses keep fucking fogging up. What the hell is wrong with these things? Yeah. It's covered in a sheen of... It's so hot that my glasses keep fogging up over and over again. Bobby Bobbinson. Lucifer pooping on a uh, Clanket's face and a Danny Clanker tea party is what you need to boost your sub count. The Wanderer. Come on, let's do this thing, man. Let's make bank, Sticks. Yeah, tomorrow we'll do the Hell stream, I suppose. Abigail Flame. It's just you, you big stud. Yeah, no, it's... Jesus, the sweat is literally dripping down my fucking chest. I cannot turn on an AC, because if I do that, it will overwhelm the microphone. Excuse me for a moment. It's like being in the friggin' Caribbean or something like that. Jesus. It's like, if I want this kind of weather, why can't I at least be in New Orleans eating gumbo or something like that? I don't even know if I have anything to wipe off with. My face is all caked in sweat. Well, whatever. Figure it out. Ah, much better. At the very least, I can see now. Ah. BW, you think King Charles has converted Islam? Protector of the faith, my ass. Probably. I don't think that he has any particular religious views. Just saying. Nobody cares either. It's like, oh, you're the King of England? Ha ha ha. That was meaningful 200 years ago. Ah. Citizen Debs, it's your hat and velvet necklace that are making you extra sweaty. No, actually, I'd be sweaty anyway because it's, with the heat index almost 100 degrees. I don't need to wear a hat for that. Can it be a bit uncomfortable at times? Yes. Would it help if I took it off? Not unless I have a bag of ice and I dump it all over my head, I suppose. That would be funny. American, service me, minion. Tarred and Feathered, the new Hexen remake has multiplayer? Ah. Man, that would be cool. You'd best believe if I join a server and we're doing multiplayer, I'm playing as the cleric. Give me those flechettes. As the cleric, if I remember correctly, when the warrior throws one of the green potion flechettes, it's like a hand grenade. It bounces a few times, then blows up. And when the mage does it, it's like a landmine. And then you have to move away from it because it blows up at your feet otherwise. But with the cleric, it makes a poison gas cloud. And if you use an amulet of repulsion, you can literally fire the gas cloud at a group of, enemies. So you can pop a couple of those on the floor, and they explode, and they make their poison gas. Then use the amulet of repulsion, or talisman of repulsion, I believe it's called. And you can literally fire the poison gas clouds at the enemy. And it causes catastrophic damage. It's hilarious. Sigil Stone, Sticks, check DM I sent. Okay, just a sec. Just a sec, my dude. Don't get a big dick, as Tourette's guy would say. Tomes Esquire. Hexen re-release is getting amazing reviews. Oh, I can imagine. Sounds fun as hell. Yeah, I always played as the cleric. It was difficult when you started off. The warrior could 3-punch out, any lower level enemy. So that wasn't hard. And the mage, of course, can simply range them. So, you can just avoid any enemies that don't have distance attacks and just fire your wand at them, basically, your staff. The cleric had a mace of attrition, and so you'd have to pound them quite a bit more than the warrior, and you didn't have a distance attack. Then you got, what was the second one? I think it was the serpent staff. So then you finally got a distance attack, and it was pretty good, by the way. You could drain the life out of enemies at a close range. You could literally leech them like a vampire. That was pretty cool. Just drop them one by one. Yeah, I'll check the DMs as I slowly sweat to death. Intersexed, autistic, and a nerd in high school. I belong to a number of bizarre groups on Twitter. Oh, here's Sigil. There you are. Here, let me accept that so that you're no longer in the requested messages. Let me check this. That's a bizarre looking cake. Haha, I get the reference. Biblically accurate angel food cake, and it's got little eyeballs and wings all over it. That is technically the case. If you read the book of Revelation, you will find that angels, or at least the Nephilim, are basically a pile of eyeballs with wings on them. This is very realistic, by the way. Thank you for sending that. That's hilarious. Splifferton Sheldrake. Sticks. It burns when I poo. What do I do? Eat more dairy products, assuming that you're lactose tolerant. It seems to work very, very well against, I'm assuming, spicy things. Rabbit. What if we are the angel food? Yeah. If you're hot or cold, you will be devoured. Just look at the story of the clip-off. Something that 99.9% of you have never actually heard of. It's an interesting concept, actually. The concept of clip-off, and I should probably grab the book from over there. I'll do that in a minute. The concept of clip-off is sort of an inversion of the Yetzirah. The idea within Judeo-Christianity of the clip-off is that if you get too close to the light of God, it's sort of an Icarus situation. You get too close, you get burned into absolute nothingness. So the goal of clip-off is to lower yourself away from that light. And it doesn't mean being evil or anything like that. It just means not embracing certain teachings of Judeo-Christianity. The idea is to prevent yourself from being turned into nothingness. Inland Surfer saw 6 meteors burn up last night. Oh yeah, I watched the meteor show. It was great. 2 fireballs and the rest were unspectacular. 2 hours of hanging in the hammock in the cool night air, dozing off. Did anyone else view? Yes. Yeah, I saw a couple the other night, and then I saw a couple this night. And I'm going to go out there and hopefully see a couple more this night. I think the Perseoid is still going, actually. Romanian Icarus, the hillbilly who flew too close to the sun. Yeah, he was in a hang glider at the time and drunk on Budweiser. Now, Icarus, silly. The Wanderer. Sticks, I will DM you. Let me give you some advice on how to advertise these streams and make it unique. Let's do this thing, brother. Hail hell. Sounds good to me, my man. Yeah, I saw several meteors last night, and one was pretty big actually, and jetted across the sky. I thought it was great. I had never actually seen a meteor before the night before last. I had never actually seen one. I had never watched a meteor shower. But I'm like, it's warm. I don't really want to be inside where it's 85, 90 fucking degrees. At least out here there's a breeze. So you just, lay on the grass and you watch the meteors. And then I was looking at all the constellations, like Arcturus, Scorpio. For some reason, Hercules wasn't there, unfortunately. Of course, that's everyone's favorite constellation. Icarus. Oh, God. Is this going to have to become a morbid story? Some redneck decides to climb onto his roof and attempt to fly, fails catastrophically and impales himself or something? Ah, shit. I guess there's one more lunatic literature entry that I have to make. Icarus. Thank you. I've already edited. Let me see for a second. I'm on page 107, and there's about 320 of them. Yeah, I can add Icarus. Why not? This has to go in lunatic literature. Come on. I believe this is the right section. No, that's the bonus material, I think. Yeah, that's the bonus material. Yeah, just give me a second. Let me find the right spot. I guess we'll do one more morbid story. Yeah, we gotta put it after the Pirate of Rutland, though. Just a second. This one's gonna be extra funny. I can guarantee that one. Okay, saved. Icarus. Yeah, I guess, Korean Ether's there. Remember, ladies, you can always DM me on Twitter. Just saying. I mean, I'm dripping with sweat all the time, so it doesn't really matter, but, whatever. If you want to get moist, just rub yourself on my face. Because it's like a gallon of goddamn fluid. It's 90 goddamn degrees here. Yeah. Icarus is going to become a story. Guess this one will be a redneck, gets drunk. Or high. Or both. and then tries to fly and, ends up impaling himself and describing his torment and pain before he goes to hell. The end of virtually every morbid story is a person going to hell, which is what happens to literally 100% of people that are ever self-aware, but that's beyond the point. Corn Pop, sell your bathwater, man. There are probably some people who would actually buy it, which is sad. Just saying, clan cats tend to be hot. You know. Jessica Isaac, popcorn yellow striped smile. I do not know what that refers to in any way, shape, or form. Zachary Hughes, gladiator sweat used to be bottled up and sold as an aphrodisiac, hopefully to chicks, otherwise kind of gay. They still do that today. There was a story, I think this was around 2008 or something like that. They were taking sweat from pro athletes and they were bottling that up and selling it sort of to dudes. The idea was that if a dude was highly athletic and genetically fit, that it would be an attractant to females, generally speaking, or possibly to feminine males. I mean, assuming that they're gay or something. It does have some basis in reality. I remember one of my exes had a grandfather, and he was actually a Nazi, a literal Nazi, like a member of the NSDAP, by the way. He used to take like cold showers every day and shit like that in order to toughen himself up. Lived to be in his late 80s, so I guess it worked. But he believed in pheromonal attraction. I happen to agree with the basic idea. I believe that scent is way, way more important than virtually anything else with regards to mating strategies. I'm an eye man, so I judge a female based on her eyes before I see literally anything else. If you've got nice eyes, and, if your ass isn't necessarily the greatest, that's fine. Doesn't make any difference. You've got nice eyes, and so on and so on forth. But he believed in pheromonal attraction. I came to the same basic conclusion. People are actually guided more by scent than by anything else. It's pretty funny when you think about it. Our biology is fascinating. Cygnus doing the eye socket skull fuck. That's actually in one of my morbid stories, by the way. The Wanderer. Sticks, I'm going to help you with your channel. Unironically, I have training in advertising and want to help you. I'll DM you later today when I'm off work. Yeah, I mean, that would be great. I will accept the help. I'm very, very good at advertising myself, but if you have commercial experience, then yeah, team effort would be fine. Cygnus, the squirting clankettes. Yeah, we got to get some clankettes over here and, make an orgy video, I suppose. Sitcho, Sticks flirting. You have beautiful eyes. May I have them? That reminds me of a line from like what was it? Evil Dead, I think it was. Wasn't it that it was Evil Dead 1, I think, and that one chick, when she was fighting by the fireplace with the blonde dude, didn't she say something about eyes? No, it wasn't that. It was no, it was the other chick actually, and she was talking about how the possessed chick what happened to her eyes or something like that, if I remember correctly. And then she sunk down into the cellar where she was trapped because she was demonically possessed by, you know, yeah, whatever they're called. And then sunk down and started laughing hysterically. I remember that. Great scene, by the way. And tea. I am sweating like a fucking pig. Bobby, Sticks, when are you doing the orgy stream? Well, I'll have to have a couple of people over here to have an orgy. Deadites, yes. Thank you, Stigil. Lemon Curd Zero. Sticks has the heart of a child pickled in a jar on his desk. Now, there's no pickled heart over here, although I do have V8 usually. It looks like blood, kind of. It's red and shit. Everyone's talking about pigs. That's actually a funny thing. I remember there was one magical item in Hexen, which we were talking about earlier, and you could transform most enemies into pigs, actually. And then it was easy to slaughter them. Can't remember what it was called, actually. It was fun, though. Yeah, you could turn your enemies into pigs and then just slash their heads off with an axe or something. Just beat them to death. Rabbit's not sharing your toys. Oh, Shanjak, the Porculator. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember. It was called the Porculator. And when you hit an enemy with it, assuming it wasn't a boss, it would just turn into a pig. And then it would just go groveling around and shit like that, and you could just bash its head in with a mace or something. Porculator for the win! That's what I'm talking about. I think that there are multiple female subscribers that would like to be porked. I don't think you'd like to be turned into a pig, however. Nor am I into that sort of thing. Snakes Bleed Red. You talking about Pigs of War? No, it's the Porculator from Hexen, actually, which apparently they've recently remade. It was a great video game in the N64 generation. It was bloody as hell at the time, based on the Doom generator more than anything else. BW, did you see the chemical salmon I sent? Do you mean you sent something to me physically, or did you send me like a DM? Let me check. I'm not 100% sure. I might have missed it. Bump it to the top if you sent me a Twitter DM, because I'm not seeing it. Sam, Canadian MRE raspberry drink really looks like blood to me. Yeah, some of them, they have an extreme amount of food dye in them. And it's completely artificially flavored. There's no actual fruit in there. The MRE drinks, I'm not a huge fan of. Some of the meals are pretty good, though. It's sad that they discontinued the original vegetarian lasagna, though. That was one of the best menus that I've ever had. I just hope that the Australians still make CRMs in the old school way instead of trying to make them different. I mean, they're gigantic. I imagine that they're quite bulky to haul around. I don't think that there's any real risk of Australia getting invaded anytime soon, except by illegal immigrants, though. So I am literally dripping with sweat. Like, I can literally feel it rolling down my chest and stomach. So I'm going to go offline. because I can no longer continue. I need to go and cool down. I need to go and take a shower or something like that because I'm gonna get stinky. I'm gonna be a smelly pirate. It's gonna be a big problem. Everyone will complain. So yeah, it's like it's dripping down my fucking face. So I will be back tomorrow with more news. I do have some docketed already, so it won't be that difficult. And hopefully it will not be 90 degrees tomorrow. Although I believe the heat wave is supposed to continue at least through tomorrow and possibly into the next day. So we'll see what happens. Oh, the Wanderer. Styx, mention the stream tomorrow. Yes, indeed, we will have the Hell stream. I will docket it immediately. Hell yeah, Wanderer. That's about all. Peace out.